South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to meet with his Nigerian counterpart, President Muhammadu Buhari. President Ramaphosa is visiting 4 West African countries this week to promote the country's economic recovery in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Visiting quite a number of countries, 4 countries, very important countries, 2 francophone, 2 anglophone, and these are countries where we are hoping to cut deals and button down deals and do good diplomatic work at a political level, but also do commercial and economic work to advance our own interests, but also to prosper the integration of our continent at economic level. So we are all very, very enthused and excited to be embarking on this journey. And a number of those presidents called to find out if we are still coming. And we said, yes, we are coming. We've rejected this notion that is being propagated by the more developed economies and some, smaller countries, that the Omicron variant is the one that should lead to a blockage and a ban of travel. We reject that in the strongest of terms, because to us it amounts like discrimination against a country like ours and some countries in Southern Africa. In fact, we should be applauded as South Africa for having alerted the world about this variant that is now beginning to spread around the world. We in the South have proven that we've got scientific capability that is able to identify a very threatening variant of the COVID pandemic. We've shown the world, and it is out of our transparency, our responsibility to the world, to demonstrate or to show that we have found this variant.
Well, for some analysis, we're now joined by Professor Christopher Isike, who's the national spokesperson for the Nigerian Union of South Africa and Professor of African Politics, Development and International Relations at the University of Pretoria. Professor, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter, for having me, and good evening to your viewers.
So this trip that President Ramaphosa is on in Nigeria comes since the establishment of the South Africa-Nigeria Binational Commission, established 1999. This is the 10th session. How would you assess over that period of time the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and South Africa? In fact, let's start on the political and then we'll break it down to economic and trade.
Well, this visit is important, like you said. It coincides with the 10th session of the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission. This was established to, improve or strengthen bilateral political, economic, and trade relations between these countries. So this visit presents both leaders of these 2 countries an opportunity to assess, how far they have come politically and economically, especially in terms of meeting their goals in this regard. I would say that politically it is important also because of the potential that this kind of visit, let's not forget that this is a state visit, not an official visit. It is the highest level of recognition and goodwill between, 2 countries. It is hoped that it will make a lot of meaning. And it's also important for Nigeria that South African president is visiting Nigeria first of the 4 countries that he's planning to visit in West Africa. This would mean a lot for the relationship between both countries, and it will be a good opportunity for them to assess the potentials that both countries have to be, regional hegemons or leaders in their respective zones, and to also to work towards towards what I call a group hegemony in the continent, giving our relative weakness to other states in this international state system.
I mean, these are the two largest economies on the continent, and we often have a good friendly fight about who is the biggest. But for sure, if the continent is to march forward, South Africa and Nigeria probably have to be at the front.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's the question of which is the biggest economy often, rotates between these two. But anyhow you want to look at it, they present as the biggest, economies in the continent. And like you said, if the continent is to develop economically and overcome most of our political challenges, the economy presents a very good opportunity. And I think that this binational commission between both countries, it's an opportunity for them to look at the trade relations between both countries, ensure that it is favorable to both and not skewed in favor of one or the other. But again, to working together, they present an opportunity to be able to lead the continent and to also develop, their respective states.
So explain perhaps, if we've been with this relationship since 1999, why isn't there more Nigerian companies invested and visible here in South Africa, and vice versa? There's a few bigger corporations doing things, but by and large, you wouldn't say that there's a huge amount of businesses on the ground in both countries.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier about the skewed trade relations between both countries, skewed in favor of South Africa. South Africa has over 120 multinational companies, big companies operating in Nigeria and doing well. On the other hand, we only have two of Nigerian companies in South Africa. So it's the relationship in that regard is unequal. And I think there are all kinds of, bottlenecks that makes it very difficult. The ease of doing business in South Africa for most African countries is an issue that South Africa needs to look at. And there needs to be a refocus on the fact that it favors South Africa more if South Africa can recognize that it gets a lot of business from Africa. For example, over 60% of its revenue from the tourism sector comes from Africa. So Africa is an important market, of which Nigeria is over 70% of that. So that recognition needs to come in. And when we talk about the Continental Free Trade Agreement, which South Africa is also spearheading to ensure that it works, these issues, these thorny issues, are some of the things that need to be resolved, to get Nigeria fully on board and for a level playing field between both countries. Or in the long term, we benefit both countries. There's already this cooperation in this cultural and music industry, the film industry, and it is going well, but it just needs to be cemented and rejigged, if you like, to ensure that there's a level playing field for both countries.
I suppose one of the things that can be addressed, especially now that we've got heads of state meeting in Nigeria, there's always been a challenge about ease of travel, visas and things like that, moving between the two countries. Surely for these countries to do what they're supposed to do, it should be very easy to travel to Nigeria and vice versa.
Yeah, it should be, but it's not the case. I've read somewhere that someone was saying it was easier for a Nigerian to get an American or Canadian visa than to get a South African visa. So that's a problem, and that needs to be addressed. The tensions between both countries at the people-to-people level has also not helped. You recall following the 2019 xenophobic incidents that targeted Nigerians, where the president of South Africa had to apologize. Even the apology, elicited a huge backlash from the people of South Africa. So these things need to be engaged. And there is no way we can talk about economic integration in the continent that will benefit the ordinary people of the continent if there is no ease of movement, goods and services, between within countries in the continent. And this is one issue apart from the trade, skill trade relationship that needs to be addressed as well.
How easy is it for South Africa to do business in Nigeria, ease of doing business? A lot of businesses have gone there and failed, and one of the reasons they cite is sometimes the duties are sometimes quite heavy.
Well, Nigeria is one of those countries that also fall short in terms of ease of doing business, but for some reason, and this started with the Obasanjo government between 1999 and 2007. Most of the companies we see in South Africa today had a smooth ride during that regime. You can bring that down to the very cordial good relationship between the president of Nigeria, then Obasanjo, and Thabo Mbeki. But progressively, especially under this current administration, the ease of doing business has worsened for most companies, not particularly targeted at South African businesses, like you said. Making it very difficult to repatriate profits to South Africa, for instance, one issue. The taxing is another issue. So those are thorny issues, and I expect that if you look at the delegation that President Ramaphosa took to Nigeria, it's also heavily economic, focused on trade relations. I'm positive that both countries will be able to discuss as equal partners and agree, and not just agree, but also implement agreements that will ensure that there is an even keel when it comes to doing business and relating politically.
Will security be something that comes up? Because, for businesses to want to invest in Nigeria, they're going to need to feel safe. And I suppose Nigerians have security issues here because of issues such as crime.
Well, not just the crime. There is also, terrorist, fears of terrorism from Boko Haram for the Fulani headsmen. There's a lot of criminality and, kidnapping all around the country. People don't feel safe. Nigerians themselves feel very unsafe in the country. Many have said that the Nigerian state has failed in this, core responsibility of maintaining law and order and protecting its citizens. Of course, that doesn't bode well for, its pursuit of foreign direct investment, and this will be one of the issues that President Ramaphosa would want to look at, especially when you also look at the fact that the businesses of both countries, Nigeria the Nigerian business in South Africa and South African business in Nigeria, are often soft targets, for attack, during tensions, xenophobic or Afrophobic tensions here in South Africa. These are all issues that President Ramaphosa would put on the table, and hopefully he gets some reassurances from the Nigerian government about what they are willing to do to protect, big business.
All right. What would success look like when President Ramaphosa comes back from this West African engagement?
Well, success would be two different things to two different publics. So in South Africa, success would be concessions that will enable South African businesses to penetrate the Nigerian market. The Nigerian market is huge. It remains its best pathway out of, its development challenges, and the same across for the continent, including South Africa. It has been touted that Nigeria represents the China of the future. So its markets alone is huge. If South Africa is able to come off with, penetration into the markets, and ensure that the ease of doing business index is improved to enable it to access those markets successfully, that would be a huge, benefits, a good news, success story, if you like. I think that they could also talk about how to respond as a continent, in terms of leadership issues in the continent, how to respond to the onslaughts against Southern Africa particularly, but eventually we'll come to all of Africa with this new variants of the COVID-19. Remember that the COVID-19 has impacted negatively the economies of both South Africa and Nigeria. Opportunities, any opportunity to help to counter the onslaught against the continent from the first world would also be a huge win. New visa regimes on the Nigerian side, new visa regimes that will enable Nigerians to visit South Africa. We talk about, even visa on arrival as kind of a visa regime relationship that Nigeria has with Kenya could be something that Nigeria would want to see come through in order to ensure that it has more representativity in South Africa, South African economic sector. So those are pluses, but they will mean two different things for two different publics, because there's also the sense that South Africans may feel, although this visit was invited by the Nigerian president, there's a sense in which some people feel that South Africa panders to Nigeria unnecessarily. This issue of the visa regime, illegal migrants in the country, and are things that they want put squarely on the table to streamline, migrants coming into the country. But of course, it's an issue that needs to be resolved, especially in terms of allowing people understand that South Africa needs Nigeria as much as Nigeria needs South Africa, if at all the continent is to achieve or realize its full potential.
Professor Isike, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us and giving us some insights on what this trip that President Ramaphosa has taken might mean for Nigeria and South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.